Sorry I haven't posted any videos recently. I've been extremely busy, and I also promised when I started doing YouTube reasonably regularly that I'd only ever post a video if I had something to talk about. And today I do. And just unlike every other guitar video that was posted this weekend, it's not about the Line 6 Helix Stadium, although we'll get to that at some stage. It's a very interesting device. You may be familiar, if you follow me, with Marco Giuseppe De Marco. Marco is an Italian Brian May tribute guitarist, and his channel is amazing. He's an amazing player, and there's lots of cool videos where he's showing the solos and the riffs and bits of gear, as well as vlogs of his band on the road. And just recently, Marco got a ToneX One pedal, much like this one here that I used to record the intro music. And he made a video with the free capture that I have on tone.net, the Vox AC30 1971. And that was great because I sold loads of presets. Thank you, Marco. But he got some great sounds out of it with his own tweaks to the preset that he used, and that was great. But then he went and made two more videos, and it was very interesting. He made an open-ended challenge where he had 4 Brian May style rigs, and he didn't even have an option set, so he didn't know what the range of rigs were. He could only probably guess by the stuff that he had used in previous videos. And you had to kind of guess which was which or what was what. And what should have been obvious, because spoiler alert, it wasn't, was his actual Vox AC30. Yeah, it was kind of interesting because when the results came out, people were kind of astounded, and I was a little bit smug, and I'll explain my smugness in a minute and qualify it with a little bit of science. A lot of people correctly identified amplitude because Marco has a very distinctive preset that he uses, which has a kind of a swooshy type of chorus sound, so that was fine. A lot of people spotted the Vox amp plug, and I've reviewed that previously. And then there was one that everybody thought was the actual Vox AC30. And when the results video came out, nobody actually identified correctly. Well, one person did, that correctly identified the actual Vox AC30 rig. And what most people thought was the Vox AC30 rig was this thing running my 1971 capture. And I thought this was extremely interesting, but it deserves a little bit of analysis. But I will take a little smug minute to think about all the people that sometimes pop up in my comment section to talk about, oh, you're using digital, you're breaking the law, and you'll go to hell and all of that. So that smug moment aside, here's why and how that happened. Now, obviously, you know, you're listening to this thing on YouTube, first of all. So you're going to hear a recording of a Vox AC30. You're going to hear a recording of the amp plug and of all the other various rigs. And that's the interesting part, because when the reveal video was published, you could see Marco had a SM57 up against the cone of his AC30 going straight into the audio interface, which is fine. But the ToneX capture that's in the ToneX One is a capture of an AC30 with a lovely MD421 microphone from the 70s, a very rare one, lovely microphone preamps. And the fact is, we spent 2 days in a very professional recording studio getting the mic'd up sound right before we even did the capture. And that's the secret with ToneX. It sounds the same as what happens at the moment in which it's captured. And what was captured at that time was a very super well controlled recorded Vox AC30. And in a sense, it had an unfair advantage because it had the benefit of that. But that's the interesting thing. ToneX sounds like the professional capture. So if you use professional capture with all of that sort of proper signal chain, that's what you get. That's what comes out the other side. So here's the question though, does that make it better than an AC30? No. Does it make it worse than an AC30? Also no. The thing about it is, an AC30 is a very definitive thing. And one thing that this little fella just doesn't do is he's not going to create trouser flapping volume and feedback on his own, whereas a Vox AC30 will do that. What he does do is he simplifies the sound of the recorded amp or the mic'd up amp and gets them into a portable format. So it's not one is better than the other, is what's the right tool for the job at the time that you need it? And that's where I'll pause kind of dramatically, because that's what it's all about. I love to get extremely smug and go, well, clearly ToneX is better than the Vox. But in some cases, you'll probably need to actually use the actual Vox. Like if you were in the studio and you had the opportunity to use one, yeah, it's always going to be fun to use the real thing, because it's faster to move mics around and things like that. Using them on stage, well, I will never use a Vox AC30 on stage. If I had a team of roadies, maybe then would I consider it, because they're big, they're heavy. I don't like lifting things. I'm getting old and I'm always lazy. And you know, you need people to look after those things if you're going to gig with them. They sometimes blow up, they catch fire, you know, that type of stuff happens. And they're also quite loud. And in a stage now, and I'm not saying that I'm on a silent stage, or I'm in the pro silent stage camp, but you know, when you have those amps, even Brian May has them on the floor and pointed away from everything. And part of that is obviously to protect the drummer and to the rest of the band from the fierce volume that comes out of them. But also it interferes with the front of house mix, because those things are so loud that they can actually compete with the PA, particularly for the front row at a gig. So, you know, those type of things kind of, you know, you can manage those issues. Obviously, Brian May manages them extraordinarily well. He is Brian May in Queen, and he has all of the best of everything. But for most people, that's just probably a lot to work with. And it now means that the promise of this, at least, is that the mic'd up sound is something that you can have. And not just any mic'd up sound, but in the case of the captures that I made, you can get a mic sound that was done in the most careful and considered way with the best of gear. And that still leaves one open-ended question, though, which is about the amplification of the thing. And that's kind of an important thing to consider, because does this mean that ToneX can never match or step toe-to-toe to a Vox in terms of its performance on stage? And the answer to that is it can. And it's something that I'll never really be able to demonstrate unless I actually, maybe I will do it as a sound check or something like that. But if you make this thing loud, and then if you manage that signal flow, yeah, it'll actually start to behave like the amp, that's the real amp, as if it's beside you. And that's how I gig. I don't gig with in-ears. I don't gig on a silent stage. That would frankly terrify me. So what actually happens is I have two flat response speakers that are 1000 watts piece. They're quite small, they're 8-inch speakers, but they're loud enough to create a key part of the sound. And this is why silent stage doesn't work for me. But this thing is an extremely efficient acoustic machine. It was designed and built to feedback. And that's what really, you know, you miss if you were to use just in-ears or something like that, because these speakers or these pickups rather, are always seeking to speak or to interact with the speakers. And it's not necessarily feedback, it's just they're so microphonic and they are picking up stuff all around them all the time, that the sound of the guitar going back into it causes a lot of the sustain to happen. It causes a lot of the upper mid to shine in a particular way. And yeah, feedback is part of it as well, where you want to catch a note and hold it, Parisian walkway style. And you know, you do need to have some speaker up there. And I know Tristan Avakian, who plays with Mark Martel. Tristan is a pal of mine on Facebook and various social channels, but he will gig with in-ears, but he still has a wedge in front of him to cause that chatter or that exchange of sound between the pickups and the speaker to happen. So this is still very important. So look, it's not whether one thing is better than the other. It's just that for a lot of deployments, this thing is kicking ass. And, you know, the pros are obvious. It's small, it's portable, it's reliable, it's consistent, and it doesn't need to be run flat out, whereas an AC30 to sound good will need to be run flat out. So it has its place. I couldn't have made this video today, or any video, or done many gigs without this type of technology. So that's just an interesting little thing I thought I'd share with you guys. And it just shows that sometimes people hear with their eyes rather than with their ears. So, you know, if you want to be a professional musician, just use the right tool for the job. You know, don't get hung up on what, you know, some geek in the front row is going to be asking about after the show. Just make it sound good. And that, you know, very clearly includes something like this. So I'll try and make some more videos as we go again. I just wanted to share that little thing with you, just to say, of course, obviously, that if you're new to ToneX and you need a hand with it, just drop me a message on one of my socials. I've been helping out a lot of people that have gotten into it since Marco's videos, which is great. And just also say that my presets are available at the link below in the comments, not in the comments, in the description. And yeah, sure, look, I'll see you in the next video.